about this context now of the late 60s into the early 70s when
Mm-hmm.
you were finishing your dissertation, and then on to with Roger Brown.
Yeah.
And in between, in this period, I think it's when you had been at UMBC.
Mm-hmm.
What were for you you mentioned gender issues, but of course that covers quite a few things. And
Yeah.
For you as a person and a scientist, what did this mean for you? Like in terms of the Hopkins department, your role at UMBC as a woman, I think you were married, you said, and you had a child at this time.
Mm-hmm.
How did all this play out for you? I mean, what kinds of things were going on for you?
Well, there are certain moments that I can mention to you. Very interesting about Hopkins, for one thing, they had in their listing with the APA, early there were these little booklets for each, a few words about each school. They actually had blatantly in their listing men preferred. And Hopkins undergraduate was an all-male school. And so I went and met with Deese in advance, when I had applied, I guess, and sort of satisfied him, as far as I could see, that I did not plan to have more children. And, I mean, he said something to that effect. My family was complete. It seemed like they could take a chance on me or something. So that was how I got accepted. Though I had, also I should say, excellent scores on graduate tests and things. But while I was there, I certainly felt I was treated well, and in fact, this is what I also had been told by another faculty member, that it's very hard for women to get in, but once they're there, they're treated equally. And at the end of my time there, the punctuation mark on the other side of that was 1968 was the year that the full-page ad appeared, I think in the back cover of the American Psychologist, from William McGuire at, I guess, San Diego, UC San Diego then. It was a job search thing, and long narrative. It was all about the man they were going to hire. The man has to be this, and he will do this, he would do that, and everything. And so that also was, another reminder that it was a very male-dominated field. Also, at that time, another marker that you may be familiar with is that in the journals, men in the reference list, men's names were listed with initials only. Women's names had to have their first name, so you could see there were women. And if you look back in the old copies, you'll see that I went and Xeroxed a page of references one to show people who had never heard of that. Anyway, so there were a lot of reminders. Let me take a sip here. And I think those are things, that were on women's minds as we were discussing things. I think for academic women, it was sort of being second class. And, we suspected a number of things. We weren't sure about, that we were getting less pay and not being promoted or hired as much and things like that. And in fact, that early group was one that began collecting the data, and I began doing that at the schools that I was at UMBC, and then did it at University of Lowell, but I went back to Hopkins on a sabbatical leave, and they were just getting to the point of sort of organizing women, and I think I helped collect data there. But anyway, it was just getting information about women and men at the various ranks and stuff like that, and printing it up. And it had to be done at each school. None of the schools would accept that in fact, they must have the same problem.
Right.
So,
Right. Yes. Yeah.
but anyway, getting data from APA about, or through APA, about women in the various divisions and women at various ranks and things like that, I guess.
Was